glad to have you join us on the Major Report. I am Olubomi Ajiboye Agbola. The All Progressives Congress has released a 422-member presidential campaign council ahead of the commencement of the party's 2023 presidential campaign to be headed by President Muhammadu Buhari. According to the list of members of the council released in Abuja today, the party's 2023 presidential candidate, Bola Tinubu, and its national chairman, Abdullahi Adamu, are to serve as deputy chairman of the council. The governor of Plateau State, Simon Lalong, is the director general, with James Faliki as secretary of the council. The party's vice presidential candidate, Senator Kashim Shettima, is the vice chairman of the council, and former APC national chairman, Adams Oshiomhole, is the deputy director general of the operations, while Adiza Usman is the deputy director general of administration. Former Akwa Ibom State Governor, Senator Godswill Akpabio, is vice chairman for South, and the former female APC presidential aspirant, Uju Kennedy, is the vice chairman for Southeast. Governor Badaru Abubakar of Jigawa State is the regional coordinator and chairman for North and East State. Governor David Umahi of Ebonyi State, regional coordinator for South and Ebonyi State. Governor Ben Ayade of Cross River State is the regional director for South and Ebonyi State. Also, Governor Rotimi Akeredolu is the zonal coordinator for Southwest and Ondo State. Governor Abubakar Sani Bello is the zonal coordinator for North Central and East State, while the zonal coordinator for the Northeast and Gombe is Governor Mohammed Yahaya. Governor Bello Matawali is the zonal coordinator for the Northwest and Zamfara State. President Muhammadu Buhari has called for more private sector participation in the humanitarian sector in Nigeria. The Nigerian leader made the call in New York against the backdrop of lingering challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, catastrophic weather events, and conflicts. The president, according to his spokesman, Mr. Femi Adesina, in a statement, spoke at a side event at 77th UN General Assembly. The event was hosted by the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, entitled Strengthening Resilience and Sustaining Development, a Humanitarian Development Peace Approach to Leaving No One Behind. He also stressed the need for efficient collaboration among stakeholders involved in humanitarian action and disaster mitigation in the country. President Buhari urged the bilateral and multilateral development partners to continue to provide technical support to well-planned policies and programs in the sector. In another development, President Muhammadu Buhari has lamented the deep-seated corruption in African countries, which he observed as corrosive effect on the continent. Speaking on the margins of the 77th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, in his capacity as the African Union champion on efforts to eliminate corruption in the continent at a high-level side event on food security response, combating illicit financial flows, and securing asset returns for sustainable development, providing his perspectives on the effects of corruption in the continent and the way forward at the event, co-hosted by the African Union Development Agency New Partnership for Africa's Development and the Economy and Financial Crimes Commission. President Buhari said he was honored to serve as African Union champion on anti-corruption since 2018. Practical agricultural mechanization is the only panacea to banish hunger and ensure adequate food provision for the teeming population of Nigerian people, as the country is blessed with adequate wherewithal. An agriculturist, Alhaji Mustafa Olawi, dropped the hint while speaking with OSBC News after featuring on the station's current affairs program Saturday Morning Treat. He speaks further.
I don't see any reason why there should be hunger in this nation. None at all. You know why? God has created everything for us to drive away hunger from this country, even from the heart itself. You can see our vegetation here is so favorable to agriculture. You see the weather condition. You see water here and there that you need to irrigate your farm. But you have to harness all these provisions. If you do not, then God will leave you alone. So we continue to pray, oh God, Bidio, come and give us, he will never come. He has given us every opportunity to do that. One, I said that we have about over 70% of Nigerian population on the field. Farming. It will never work well for this country if you have such number. For 70%, it's not more than 20% that we produce what we eat and export from this country. If we assist the farmers, if we modernize the way we are doing agriculture in this country.
The Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, has advised the Academic Staff Union of Universities to obey the decision of the National Industrial Court and call off its ongoing nationwide strike while negotiations continue. He gave the advice while addressing newsmen on the United Nations Development Programme and the European Union high-level side event on the sidelines of the 77th of the United Nations General Assembly and the official launch of the Nigerian Integrated National Financial Framework report. This is sequel to the ruling on the government's application by Justice Polycarp Arman, which restrained ASU from continuing with the strike and ordered that the case file should be returned to the President of the Industrial Court for reassignment to another judge, as he is a vacation judge. Meanwhile, a legal practitioner in Osun State, Mr. Tiamiyu Adegboyega, has urged the Academic Staff Union of Universities to obey the decision of the court and order its members back to the lecture rooms. Mr. Adegboyega, who stated this in an interview with OSBC News, maintained that in as much as the union has the rights of appeal, it is imperative to stick to the decision of the court.
Having submitted the agitation to the court of law, they still have a right to respect the decision of the court. Even if that decision is made erroneously, ASU must of necessity obey that decision of the court first and foremost before pushing anything forward. As it is, they have the right of appeal. They can appeal the decision of the industrial court that says they should go back. But in so far that appeal has not been laid as a body of intellectuals, the decision of the court is imperative for them to obey. See them as intellectual, because that is going to be the argument. Supposedly, that is going to be the argument. And I'm very sure the counsel leading the case of ASU will, advise them properly to obey the decision of the court.
In the meantime, despite the court's pronouncement on ASU strike ordering the lecturers to resume work and continue with their case with the federal government, the union also has the right to 6 stay of execution, allows the tutors to escape being coerced till the higher court of law decides. A legal expert, Mr. Cousin Odedeji, made the clarification shortly after participating on OSBC TV Current Affairs program Saturday Morning Trades.
They have a right to appeal. So when an injunction is given against you, you have a right of appeal. So when you exercise that right of appeal, so you can also file what is called a stay of execution. So it means you are asking the court so to allow you not to obey that order, so until the appeal is determined. So I think that is that is the right that ASU is exercising now. So they are still within the limit of the law. I want to advise both the government and ASU to find a common ground, a workable agreement. So an agreement that can be implemented by successive government. So even other governments after the end of this current administration, so they should find a common ground. They should be, the two of them should be ready to shift ground.
The need for members of the press to embrace solutions-based journalism in the reportage rather than being problems-focused came to the fore at a workshop organized by the Osun State chapter of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations in partnership with the National Center for Technology Management. The topic of the workshop is building and redeeming the image of Nigeria, Osun State, and the various organizations through quality and credible reportage. Oluchi Amuda reports.
Brought together journalists and broadcasters from the print and electronic media, online reporters as well as information officers who converged on the seminar room of the National Center for Technology Management, Obafemi Awolowo University, OAU Ile-Ife, to learn, relearn, and unlearn issues emanating from the conduct of their chosen profession. The workshop, which has the topic Building and Redeeming the Image of Nigeria, Osun State, and various organizations through quality and credible reportage, also provided an avenue for media professionals to discuss how journalists can reshape the destiny of the country through balanced and objective reportage of news stories that can help in nation building. In his opening remarks, Acting Director General and Chief Executive Officer of the National Center for Technology Management, NACETEM, Dr. John Omimakinde, who stated that NACETEM is an agency within the Federal Ministry of Science and Technology aimed at promoting good governance through science and technology. He, however, expressed regret that the media has not done much in their reportage on the development of science and innovation, adding that no nation can develop without records to read.
It is disheartening to note that not too much is known or being reported about science, technology, and innovation in Nigeria. In fact, when science, technology, and innovation story is told, it is either talked in a small space in our newspapers or being narrated haphazardly, leaving the public to wonder if anything is happening in the STI space. This narrative must change, as a lot is happening in this space.
In his remarks, the state chairman of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, Mr. Adewale Adesoji, spoke on the need for journalists to showcase and focus on the huge potentials of Nigeria for the benefit of all.
When we continue to report bad things about some organizations, one way or the other, it will have an implication on the government of the state.
In their various presentations, the resource persons, including Dr. Rashid Adebiyi, Mr. Godfrey Adejuma, Mr. Shola Omoro, who stood in for the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor, Mr. Ismail Omipidan, among others, maintained that it is unarguable that the media is one of the most powerful forces in the world, hence the need to reposition Nigeria for greatness through quality, credible, and balanced reportage. They noted that it is high time Nigerian journalists started focusing on solutions-based journalism rather than always highlighting the many challenges of the country without providing means of getting out of the challenges. Some of the participants, including Mr. Nathaniel Oyegoke and Mrs. Titi Ajiboye, commended the organizers of the workshop for providing an avenue for media practitioners to learn on the job. Oluchi Amuda, OSBC News.
Your reports will be back after this commercial break. Stay tuned.
Life presents hopes, dreams, and challenges. Challenges that can become successes with a little help. Because a little help can empower you to go from despair to celebration. A little help can keep you going until the race is won. A little help can turn bundles of anxiety into a bundle of joy. And with Glow Data, you get much more than just a little help. You get the biggest data deals in town to make every day glow with small wins and big wins. Dial *777# to select your Glow Data plan.
You're welcome to our sports segment. Alex Wobi and Syria Dize were on target for the Super Eagles of Nigeria in their 2-2 draw against Algeria B team in a test game played in Constantine. The Super Eagles will take on the Algeria A team next Tuesday in an international friendly game to be played in Oran. Omotayo Adibodona completes the story.
Nigerian local side made up of the domestic league players to a 2-2 draw in the test game played behind closed doors in Constantine. Strike from substitute Alex Iwobi and Cyril Desert ensured the Eagles avoided a third defeat under Eagles coach Jose Pizarro. Pizarro handed Club Brugge midfielder Rafael Onyedika and Ebube Duru their first start in the encounter, while he also recalled the trio of Maduka Okoye, Chidozie Awazim and Taiwo Awoniyi were also named in the squad. The Algeria team were preparing for next year's African Nations competition, which they will host in January 2023. The Eagles next play against Algeria's main team on Tuesday in Oran with their first team players. In the meantime, a tearful Roger Federer waved goodbye to professional tennis after teaming up with fellow great Rafael Nadal on an emotional night at the Lavas Cup. The 41-year-old received a long ovation after walking off court for the final time as he retired as a professional. The Swiss, who won 20 Grand Slam singles title, is considered one of the best players in tennis history. Federer cried as he hugged Nadal and other players, then took acclaim from the thousands of fans who chanted his name at the O2 Arena in London. Nadal also could not hold back the tears. The 36-year-old spinner cried as he sat alongside Federer while the pair listened to British singer Elliot Goulding, who rounded off a memorable night with a performance. Federer and Nadal, for so long rival at the top of men's game, joined forces to play doubles against American pair Jack Sock and Francis Tiafoe in the annual team event between Europe and the rest of the world. Despite Federer not having played competitively for over a year, the veteran duo pushed Sock and Tiafoe before losing 4-6, 7-6, 11-9 as team world leveled at 2-2 at the end of the play on the opening day. Meanwhile, Great Britain's Emma Raducanu is out of the Korea Open after retiring injured from the semi-final against a top seed Jelena Ostapenko. The 19-year-old took a medical timeout during the second set as she struggles with a left glute injury. She carried on as Ostapenko claimed the second set but conceded the match to the Latvian at 4-6, 6-3, 3-0. Ostapenko will face second seed Ekaterina Alexandrova of Russia, who beat Germany's Tatjana Maria 6-2, 6-4. British number one Raducanu, who was playing in her first semi-final of a regular WTA Tour event, has struggled with various injuries and has retired mid-match on a number of occasions since winning the US Open in 2021. Raducanu had beaten Polish third seed Magda Linette in the quarterfinal to claim the third win in a row for the first time since her US Open victory last year. Omotayo Adibodun, OSBC News.
And moving on to the foreign scene, powerful storm Fiona knocked out electricity to more than 5,000 homes today as it lashed East Canada with strong winds and heavy rains in conditions that police said were like nothing they've ever seen. These and other stories from the foreign scene are packaged by Abdul at DBC.
Still packed winds of 85 miles per hour as it barreled ashore in the early hours after battering the Caribbean. According to meteorologists in the province of Nova Scotia, more than 400,000 households were without electricity. In neighboring Prince Edward Island, some 82,000 households lost power, with police in the provincial capital, Chatuton, posting images of tangled downed power lines and roofs punctured by felled trees. Canada had issued severe weather warnings of its eastern coast. The Canadian Hurricane Center said high-speed winds had been reported in Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, Îles de la Madeleine, and Newfoundland, and that the storm would steam northeast, causing damaging wind and storm surge. The European Union bloc's foreign policy chief, Joseph Borrell, had said that the Union must take Vladimir Putin's threat he could use nuclear weapons in the conflict in Ukraine seriously. He added that the war has reached a dangerous moment because the Russian army has been pushed into a corner, and President Putin announced the call-up of 300,000 Russians who have done compulsory military service, speaking protests and reports of people fleeing the country to avoid being sent to the front line. Mr. Borrell remarks come as Russia begins a partial mobilization and moves to annex 4 regions of Ukraine. It was learned that Mr. Putin has faced setback on the battlefield, with his forces pushed back by Ukrainian counter-offensive. It has been 7 months since Russia's invasion of Ukraine began. Analysts agree that President Putin's forces are on the back foot. It comes after a rapid counter-offensive in which Ukraine says it took more than 8,000 square kilometers back from Russian forces. The government of the United States says it will ease internet curbs to counter Tehran's clampdown on protests, which were sparked by a woman's death in police custody. According to the Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, the government is going to help make sure the Iranian people are not kept in the dark. He said the relaxation of software controls will allow American technology firms to expand their businesses in Iran. Masha Amini, age 22, fell into a coma last week, hours after morality police arrested her for allegedly breaking headscarf rules. Officers reportedly beat Mrs. Amini's head with a baton and banged her head against one of their vehicles. The police have said there is no evidence of any mistreatment and that she suffered sudden heart failure. Anti-government protests continued for an 8th straight night, while pro-regime rallies also took place in Tehran and other cities. Mr. Blinken said the partial relaxation of internet restriction was a concrete step to provide meaningful support to Iranians, demanding that their basic rights be respected. A report says at least 35 people have been killed in the worst unrest in Iran for years. Abdul Jalil Adebisi, OSBC News.
To end the major reports, here's a recap of some of the top stories. President Muhammadu Buhari has been appointed to head the APC's Presidential Council. We also reported that an agricultural expert has called for mechanization of agriculture to ensure food security in the country. While on the foreign scene, we reported that powerful storm Fiona has struck Canada, leaving 5,000 homes without electricity. And that ends the major report on OSBC TV. It was edited by Kayode Adebayo. I am Olubumi Ajiboye Agbola. Good night.